So in the spirit of music, I have to tell you, I have a new favorite song. It's called Rise Up by Andra Day. Anybody know that one? All right. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's my new song and my new favorite song, not because it talks about getting over bad things, but it talks about getting over me and getting out of my own way so that I can get on with business. I don't know about you, but have you, I've not had a perfect career. I've had little hitches in my giddy up along the way. And those particular instances are where I had the opportunity to find out where the leader in me is. Let me share some of those stories. Have you ever been assigned to a job that you didn't think you wanted and that you didn't want? I did. In fact, very early in my career. I was assigned to be an instructor at the Air Force Institute of Technology. And all my peers said that my career was over. And when I thought about it, it worried me a little bit because it was going to be like maybe 8 years before I ever had any hands-on experience with contracts. So I'm believing this, my career is over stuff from my peers. And so I worried about it for a couple of weeks, few days. And then I started thinking about that. And I thought, I can sit there and feel sorry for myself. And my peers' prediction that it would be an end to my career would come true. Or I could get out away from myself and actually embrace the job that I had been assigned to and the people I was going to work with. I chose to do the latter. And I'm going to tell you it was the best decision I ever made. I learned all about academics and the challenges associated with the academic environment. I learned how to publish. I got involved with my peers to learn about what was important to them and what they looked for in peers in the academic environment, and I embraced those expectations. I learned how to speak in public. I learned how to read body language so that I could, and this is what it did for me over time, but when you learn how to read body language, you can tell when your boss is really bored with what you're saying. And you know to either move faster or skip a few charts because they're like already way ahead of you. It was a phenomenal experience for me. I also got involved with the National Contract Management Association, and I even represented AFIT to NCMA at many conferences. It was a fantastic experience. I think that you would all agree that maybe my experience at AFIT did not ruin my career. And instead, I learned and developed myself and built some basic skills that became fundamental for me as a professional in the contracting community, as a leader in anything that I was charged to do. It was an absolutely phenomenal experience, but this is the other thing I learned. I worked with amazing people, and I learned that when I got out of my own way, not only did I develop as a professional, but I built great relationships and learned a lot from peers. But more importantly, I had been given a job to do, and that job was to prepare the students that I was responsible for to be great pricers for the contracts that they were responsible for. In some cases, it was simply helping them understand that there were things called cost elements in a price and help them become the best that they could be. A little bit later in my career, I was the director of contracts for a munitions program when we had a really unexpected reversal of what we thought was going to be our contract strategy. We had been working for over a year developing a total system performance responsibility contract. I know, not a popular methodology now, using a long-term pricing agreement based on price analysis, not cost analysis. We had a really good confidence that this was going to good. We had good numbers, but when the proposed strategy was presented to the Air Force, leadership said no. We were stunned. We had really good insight on the cost. We were very confident that the deal was going to be good. What was really important was we were running out of time. It was the end of fiscal year, and part of the strategy was actually combining requirements so we could reduce the unit price. And if we didn't get that price in place quickly, it was going to be a problem for not only the United States Air Force and Navy, but foreign military customers around the world that were counting on getting that and locking in that unit price. When we got the word, it was devastating. And as a new leader, I found myself sitting at my desk. I turned my back to my office door because I had tears coming down my face, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was that devastated. But I was devastated because I knew my people had worked so hard, and I knew this was the right price. And as I felt those tears and the sting in my eyes and the panic of what to do, I started realizing, no, we can't let this go. We can't let this go. And I got on the phone with the contractor. I called him. We laid out a plan to sit down and do IPT pricing. They agreed to do certified cost and pricing data for us based on the at-the-table negotiations information. And I turned around to get up, walk over to my office where my office mates were sitting, and there was this huge dark rain cloud over their office space. And as I approached, I heard him say, "We're done." And when I heard that, I walked in and I said, "Absolutely not, this is the plan." Laid it all out for him. And in those short moments where we talked about what was next, my team went from doom and gloom to a determination that was worthy of their talent and their capability and our obligation to the warfighters and our program office itself. It was remarkable. I will tell you, it's the first time that it was incredibly palpable how much my team fed off of my energy. When I got up and out of my own way to do problem solving, to come up with a solution, the energy and the demonstration and the strength of that type of decision fed into my folks. It reminded them of how intelligent they were, how right they were in doing what they were doing, but more importantly, it helped us deliver to those warfighters a missile at the unit price that they expected and that they needed to pay in a timely fashion before we ran out of the money. Now, my last example is kind of interesting. I had just returned from a 6-month deployment to Iraq. I sat down at my desk from returning from that deployment as the Director of Contracting at Lifecycle Management Command. And the very first day I was back, across my desk was a document that was describing our program office's response to a congressional direction to open up the contractual deal and get more cost insight. That direction was a result of a senior Air Force acquisition official misstep that brought a lot of attention on programs that that person had been involved in, and this particular program had been one of those. In the Air Force, programs that were under program executive officers, that PEO, that program executive officer, had contracting authority. So when it crossed my desk at the time, I thought the answer was incomplete because they had only agreed to get that cost insight at the prime level, not down in and among the subcontracts. But I thought, well, I guess the PEO knows what they're doing. I don't think I'd do this. So I coordinated on it just as I had done prior to my deployment. A couple days later, I got this phone call from this really nice guy who was my boss. His name is Charlie Williams. I don't know if y'all know, but he is the nicest guy in the whole wide world. And I got a hate call. I was shocked. He was very angry with me. And he said, can you not step up to your responsibility here? And I'm going, it's a PEO program. And he said, no, We have reassigned contracting authority back into the contracting chain. Also a byproduct of that particular incident associated with that senior leader. As soon as he told me that, I said, "Sir, I got this. I got it." I hung up, got on the phone with the PCO, said, "Hey, taking a look at your answer here, it's incomplete. I need you to flow down all of these costs and these contract clauses that need to be flowed into the subcontractor." And the PCO said, "I'm not going to do it." I'm going, okay, I'll do it for you. Got on the phone with the contractor. We laid out a plan. Oh, by the way, the contractor was expecting this to happen, so they laid out their strategy of flowing down to over hundreds of subcontractors. And we set up a battle rhythm where we made sure that all of the clauses were embraced so that we could tell Congress that we were absolutely compliant with their expectations. Oh, by the way, as I was having those phone calls with the contractor, my service acquisition executive had a little representative sitting in on those phone calls with me to make sure things were still going. So you can bet I was using my big girl voice as I was working with the contractor to make sure that we were compliant with congressional expectations. I had to do just that. And I had to do that because my boss expected me to, but more importantly, at that particular time, the United States Air Force needed me to. Our reputation had been sullied, and it was my job to contribute to restoring that reputation. So you can see, throughout my career, I've had those little hitches, I've had those little giddy-ups. Early in the career, if I could just get out of my way, it would take me, a couple of weeks to figure out I gotta get out of my own way. I gotta rise up past this circumstance to learn how to value the students I was responsible for and the academic peers I was responsible to. About midway through my career, it took me, 30 minutes instead of a couple of days to figure out how to get past myself and rise up and remind my people that they are smart, that they did do the right thing, and get and lock in a price that was appropriate. Once I hit those senior levels, pretty instantaneous, you know that it's your job to rise up, get out of your own way, and make things happen. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one who's going to have career problems or challenges. It was such a phenomenal learning experience for me. I found that it was at these dark times that when I stopped to get over my own little self-pity parties, I could be something greater than I ever thought I had inside of myself. I made decisions and deliberate choices to get up and out of my way. And I guarantee you that you too will have those opportunities to demonstrate your leadership over time. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go into your office and close the door and just say, "Oh, somebody else will figure it out"? Or are you going to rise up, get out of your own way, and accept the responsibilities you have assigned for the people who depend on you each and every day? I say rise up. If this introvert from West Texas can do it, I'm certain you can too. Go forth and do good. You too can rise up. Thanks.